Hello and welcome to the presentation video of results from Ireland's Labour Force Survey, or LFS, for Q4 2023 on today the 22nd of February 2024. The LFS is a household survey carried out by the Central Statistics Office and is the official source for employment and unemployment estimates in Ireland. The official labour market classification of respondents to the survey is based on International Labour Organization, or ILO, concepts and definitions, and you can find out more information about the survey from our website or by contacting us at labour@cso.ie. Before looking at the Q4 results in detail, a preliminary note to say that today's results incorporate updated population estimates for the period 2016 Q3 to 2023 Q3 based on the results of Ireland's Census of Population 2022. LFS results are routinely updated in this manner following each census. Labour market estimates quoted in today's results and available now on our PXStat data portal reflect the updated population series. The overall impact of the updates is low, with the peak difference for headline employment rate, unemployment rate or labour market participation rate estimates being just plus or minus 0.1 percentage point. Some analysis of the census update is provided in the annex to this presentation, which is available on our website. The infographic shown in this slide shows some headline estimates for Q4. The employment rate for persons aged 15 to 64 years in Q4 was 74%. That's up by 0.7 percentage points in comparison with Q4 in 2022. The unemployment rate, which is measured for persons aged 15 to 74, was 4.2%. That's no change compared with a year earlier. And the labour market participation rate, measured for persons aged 15 and over, stood at 65.4%, up again by 0.7 percentage points in the year. Labour market participation rates across different regions of the country by NUTS 3 classification are shown in the map, with the Dublin region having the highest levels of participation at 67.9%, followed by the Mid-East region at 66.7%. The number in employment increased by 3.4%, or almost 90,000 people in the year to Q4, with the highest increases among those aged 45 to 54 and among young people aged 15 to 24. The number of working people over 65 also rose. Seasonally adjusted, the employment rate in Q4 was 74.1%. That's down 0.1 percentage point on the previous quarter, while the seasonally adjusted unemployment rate was at 4.5%, unchanged from Q3. The seasonally adjusted estimates for both the employment rate and unemployment rate for each quarter over the past 4 years are shown in the chart here. And focusing now on the results for employment in Q4, the estimate for the number of people in employment was just over 2,706,400, an increase of almost 90,000 or 3.4% compared with Q4 2022. As mentioned already, the employment rate for persons is 74.0%. That's up 0.7 percentage points relative to a year ago. The seasonally adjusted estimate for the number in employment in Q4 was just below 2.71 million, increasing by 14,000 or 0.5% compared to the last quarter, that's Q3 2023. The estimated number of people who were classified as unemployed, that is, available for and actively seeking work in Q4, was 117,700, up by around 5,000 compared with Q4 last year, giving an unemployment rate of 4.2%, unchanged from a year ago. The seasonally adjusted estimate for unemployed was 127,000, and the seasonally adjusted unemployment rate in Q4 was 4.5%, which is unchanged from the previous quarter. Now to the total labour force, comprised of all persons aged 15 and over who are classified as either employed or unemployed, was estimated to be just over 2.82 million in Q4, an increase of 3.5% compared to a year earlier. The estimated labour market participation rate for persons aged 15 and over for Q4 was 65.4%, up by 0.7 percentage points in the year to Q4. The seasonally adjusted participation rate in Q4 at 65.6% is down marginally compared with the last quarter. The numbers of people by ILO employment classification for males and females in Q4 are shown here. The employment rates for those aged 15 to 64 were 78.3% for males and 69.8% for females. Unemployment numbers were very similar for males and females, with unemployment rates of 4.1% and 4.3% respectively. The number of people not in the labour force, termed inactive by ILO definition, in quarter 4 is shown in green. The annual change in employment classification by sex is shown here. There was a higher increase in employment in the year for women at just under 50,000 compared with just over 40,000 for men. The changes in the number of people unemployed and classified as inactive were small by comparison. The number of people by employment classification in different age groups in quarter 4 are shown here. Employment is highest among the 25 to 34, 35 to 44 and 45 to 54 years old age groups, with an employment rate of 84% for each of these groups. Youth employment for those aged 15 to 24 was 49%. Unemployment was highest among 15 to 24-year-olds at 33,800, although this fell from over 46,000 during quarter 3, which includes the summer months of July and August. Youth unemployment in quarter 4 was 9.4%. The annual change in employment classification by age group is shown here. Employment rose across all age groups in the year. The highest increases in employment were for 45 to 54-year-olds and among young people aged 15 to 24. The number of working people over 65 also rose. The number of people by employment classification and by region in quarter 4 are shown in the chart on this slide, while the annual change in employment classification by region is shown here. Employment was up across all regions, with the strongest increases in the southwest region and in Dublin. Of the 2.7 million people in employment in quarter 4, just under 600,000, or 21.9%, said they worked part-time. Part-time underemployment, that's those who work part-time but would like to work more hours for more pay, increased to just under 140,000 in quarter 4, an increase of around 37,000 compared to a year ago. And the slide here shows the proportion of part-time workers who are classified as underemployed. And this proportion has increased from just over 18% to almost 24% in the year to quarter 4 2023. The chart in this slide shows the estimated numbers of persons in employment by economic activity or NACE sector compared to a year ago. Figures shown here are the average of the 4 quarters of 2023 compared with 2022. The highest increase was in sector R to S, that's other service activities, up by 8.1%, and also in sector I, that's accommodation and food services, up by 6.2%, sector Q, that's human health and social work activities, up by 5.6%, and sector M, professional, scientific and technical activities, also up 5.6%. Sectors B to E, industry, and sector F, construction, both fell by around 1%. The estimated average number of hours worked per week in quarter 4 stood at 82.5 million hours per week, up 0.3 million hours per week, or 0.4%. It's worth noting that this was lower than the annual increase in employment numbers, which was up by 3.4%. The chart in this slide compares the number of hours worked per week by economic sector, and again the annual average value for 2023 is shown compared with 2022. There was modest growth in the year across most sectors, but industry and construction were both down by around 3%. The chart in this slide looks at the proportion of employed persons who have indicated that they work at least some of their working time at home. In quarter 4, 1 in 5 people indicated that they mainly work from home, defined as at least half of the days worked in the previous 4 weeks, with a further 14% indicating that they worked from home sometimes. The estimated number of people who are classified as not in the labour force was just under 1.5 million and was up by just 0.1%. The potential additional labour force, that is people who would like to work but are either available but are not actively seeking work, or are seeking work but are not immediately available to begin, was around 106,000, an increase of 45,000 or 73.4% compared to a year ago. The annual change in composition of those not in the labour force in quarter 4 is shown here. As mentioned in the previous slide, the potential additional labour force increased by around 45,000 compared to quarter 4 last year, while there was also an increase in people who said they would like to work but were neither actively seeking work nor available to start work immediately. People who did not want to work fell by around 78,000, while those who were classified as inactive and aged 75 or over rose by around 12,000. And so, in summary, the employment rate for persons aged 15 to 64 years in quarter 4 was 74%, up by 0.7 percentage points in comparison with quarter 4 last year. The unemployment rate, which is measured for persons aged 15 to 74, was 4.2%. That's no change compared to a year ago. And the labour market participation rate, measured for persons aged 15 and over, stood at 65.4%, up again by 0.7 percentage points in the year. And that concludes this results presentation for the Labour Force Survey for quarter 4 2023. LFS quarterly results for quarter 1 2024 are scheduled for publication on the 23rd of May 2024. Thanks for watching.